My name is Jim, I'm 31 years old, and I own a small landscaping business here in Greensboro, North Carolina. 3 years ago, I married Chloe, a woman I thought was working as a fitness instructor at a gym downtown. She had this energy about her, this way of moving through the world that made everyone around her feel alive. We met at a coffee shop on a rainy Tuesday morning, both reaching for the last blueberry muffin. She laughed, I laughed, and somehow that moment turned into 3 years of what I believed was happiness. Spring had just arrived in Greensboro, bringing with it the smell of fresh-cut grass and the promise of busy season for my business. I was working 12-hour days, managing 3 crews, dealing with demanding clients who wanted their lawns to look like golf courses. Chloe seemed understanding about my schedule. She said her gym hours were flexible, mostly evening classes and weekend workshops. I never questioned it. Why would I? William changed everything on that Thursday night in late March. "Jim, we need to talk," he said, pulling me into the kitchen away from the other guys. His face had this expression I'd never seen before, part anger, part pity, part something else I couldn't identify. "What's wrong?" I asked, thinking maybe his construction business was having problems or his mom's health had taken a turn. "I saw Chloe last Friday night," he said slowly. "At Velvet Nights." Velvet Nights, the strip club on the east side of town that I'd driven past 100 times but never entered. "What are you talking about?" "She was at a fitness conference that weekend." William's jaw tightened. "Jim, she wasn't at any conference. She was on stage." "I'm sorry, man, but your wife is a stripper." The floor seemed to tilt under my feet. "You're wrong. You have to be wrong." "I wish I was." I recognized her immediately. She was using a different name, Scarlett, but it was definitely Chloe. I stayed for an hour, hoping I was crazy, but it was her. I wanted to punch him. I wanted to call him a liar. Instead, I just stood there, feeling like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed my heart until it stopped beating. "There's more," William said quietly. "She left with some guy. They were close. Really close." I drove home that night in a daze. Chloe was already asleep, or pretending to be. I lay awake until dawn, staring at the ceiling of our apartment, trying to make sense of what William had told me. Part of me wanted to wake her up and demand the truth. Part of me was terrified of what that truth might be. The next morning I called William. "I need your help," I said. "I need to know everything." He picked me up the following Tuesday evening. Chloe had told me she was teaching a late spin class. We drove to Velvet Nights and parked across the street. At 9:47 p.m., her car pulled into the lot. I watched my wife get out wearing a long coat and carrying a duffel bag. She looked around quickly before hurrying inside. "You want to go in?" William asked. "Not yet. Let's just watch." We sat there for 3 hours. At 12:30 a.m., Chloe emerged. She wasn't alone. A tall man in an expensive suit had his arm around her waist. They stood by her car, talking, laughing. Then he kissed her. Not a friendly peck, but a deep, passionate kiss that made my stomach turn. They got into his car, a silver BMW, and drove away. We followed. They went to the Grandview Hotel, a mid-range place near the airport. William parked while I watched them check in, the man's hand never leaving the small of her back. They disappeared into the building. "That's Thomas Richardson," William said, squinting at the car's license plate, which he'd photographed. "I did some work on his house last year. He's an auditor for one of the big firms downtown. Married, 2 kids." I felt numb. "How long do we wait?" "As long as you need." They didn't come out that night. At 4 a.m., I told William to take me home. Chloe wasn't there. She arrived at 6:15 a.m., slipping into bed beside me, smelling of unfamiliar cologne and shower gel. "How was the class?" I asked without opening my eyes. "Exhausting," she said. "Some of the equipment broke, so we had to improvise." "I'm wiped out." The lie came so easily to her. Over the next 2 weeks, William and I followed her 4 more times. The pattern was always the same. She'd tell me she was working, go to Velvet Nights, perform, then meet Thomas. Sometimes they went to the hotel. Other times, they went to his office building after hours. Once, they drove to Winston-Salem, about 45 minutes away, and had dinner at an expensive restaurant before checking into a boutique hotel. But Thomas wasn't the only one. On a Saturday afternoon when Chloe said she was meeting her sister for lunch, I followed her alone. She went to a different hotel, this time meeting a younger guy, maybe 25, covered in tattoos. They spent 2 hours there. His name, I later learned from checking the hotel's parking records through a contact of mine who worked security, was registered to a credit card belonging to someone named Dale Murphy. 2 days later, she met another man at a coffee shop. This one looked like a college professor, glasses, cardigan, the whole package. They walked through the park holding hands, kissing under the trees like teenagers. When I managed to get close enough, I overheard her call him Andrew. And then there was Wednesday afternoon, when she met a businessman at a wine bar downtown. They barely made it through one glass before they were in his car, headed to yet another hotel. For men. For different relationships. And Thomas was the one she seemed to care about most. I saw it in the way she looked at him, the way she melted into his arms. The others seemed transactional, rushed, almost mechanical. But with Thomas, she laughed. She smiled that smile I thought was reserved for me. I started digging deeper. I hired a tech-savvy friend from high school to help me access the financial records I legally had access to as her husband. What I found made the affairs seem almost quaint. Chloe had opened 3 credit cards in my name. She'd taken out a personal loan using our apartment as collateral, something that required both signatures, though I'd never signed anything. When I looked closer, I realized she'd forged my signature. She'd drained our joint savings account, the one with $23,000 we'd been saving for a down payment on a house, and transferred it to an account I didn't know existed. The account was in her maiden name, Chloe Harrison, the name from her first marriage. Yes, first marriage. Another thing I discovered during my investigation. She'd been married before, to a man named Richard Harrison in Virginia. They'd divorced 4 years ago, but she'd never mentioned it. Never mentioned that she'd done this all before. I found divorce papers in a box in our storage unit when I went looking for old tax documents. Richard had filed, citing adultery. The pattern was already there. I just hadn't known to look for it. The rage built slowly. Not the hot, explosive kind, but cold and calculating. She had betrayed me in every possible way. The lying, the cheating, the stealing. It all painted a picture of someone who had never actually loved me. I was a mark, a convenience, someone to provide stability while she did whatever she wanted. But I wasn't going to just confront her and watch her cry and make excuses. I wasn't going to give her the chance to manipulate me the way she'd manipulated everything else. I went to see a lawyer first. Diana Martinez had a reputation for being ruthless in divorce cases. I need to protect myself, I told her, laying out everything I had discovered. The forgery and financial fraud are criminal matters, she said. But we can use them in the divorce to ensure you're protected. First things first, we need to secure your assets. That afternoon, I opened a new bank account at a different bank and transferred what was left of my business funds and my personal money, about $67,000 total. I changed all my passwords, locked down my credit, and put alerts on everything. Then I made copies of everything. Every bank statement, every photo, every piece of evidence. I stored one set with Diana, one with William, and one in a safe deposit box. But I still didn't confront Chloe. Not yet. Instead, I started building something more elaborate. If she wanted to play games, I'd show her what real strategy looked like. I called Thomas's office and asked for him, claiming to be an old friend. His assistant told me he was in a meeting, but would be available after 3 p.m. I called back at 3:15. Thomas Richardson, he answered. Mr. Richardson, my name is Jim. I think we should talk about Chloe. There was a long pause. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you do. I'm her husband. And I think your wife Angela might be interested to know how you spend your Tuesday and Thursday evenings. Another pause. What do you want? Meet me tomorrow at the Starbucks on Elm Street. Noon. Come alone. He showed up looking nervous, scanning the coffee shop like he expected a trap. Sit down, I said calmly. I'm not here to fight you. Then what do you want? I want to know if you love her. He blinked, clearly not expecting that question. That's none of your business. Actually, it is. See, I've spent 3 years with Chloe. 3 years believing she loved me. Believing our life together meant something. Now I find out she's been lying about everything, her job, her past, and definitely her fidelity. So I'm curious. Do you actually love her, or is she lying to you too? Thomas shifted uncomfortably. I do love her. She told me she was leaving you, that your marriage was over and everything but paperwork. I laughed bitterly. She told you that? Interesting. She told me our marriage was great. In fact, just last week she suggested we start trying for kids. His face went pale. She said you were controlling, that you didn't let her work, didn't let her have friends. I'm controlling? Thomas, she's a stripper. She's been stealing from me. And you're not the only one she's seeing. There are at least 3 other guys I know about. You're lying. I pulled out my phone and showed him photos. Thomas with Chloe at the hotel. The tattooed guy with Chloe at a different hotel. The professor type with Chloe in the park. The businessman with Chloe at the wine bar. He stared at the screen, his face going from pale to red to pale again. That can't be, she wouldn't. She would. She did. She's been playing all of us. Thomas stood up abruptly. I need to go. Wait. I need one more thing from you. What? I need you to keep seeing her. Act like nothing's changed. I'm filing for divorce, but I need time to make sure everything's in order. If she suspects something, she'll hide assets, destroy evidence. Can you do that? He looked at me like I was crazy. Why would I help you? Because if you don't, I'll send these photos to your wife, your employer, and everyone in your contact list. And I'll make sure everyone knows that you knew she was married. That you were complicit in fraud, because yes, Thomas, she's used your credit card for personal expenses that I can trace. You're implicated in her crimes whether you knew it or not. It was a bluff, mostly. But Thomas didn't know that. Fine, he said through clenched teeth. How long? 2 weeks. I'll tell you when to end it. He left without another word. Next, I visited the other men. The tattooed guy, Dale, worked at an auto body shop. He seemed genuinely shocked that Chloe was married and had multiple affairs. She told me she was single, he kept saying. I thought we had something real. The professor, whose name was actually Andrew Winters, taught philosophy at a local community college. He took the news with more composure, but looked devastated. I was planning to leave my wife for her, he admitted. The businessman, Robert Chin, yes, I found out his real name, was the least sympathetic. So what? He said. We're both adults. What's your point? My point is that she's been stealing from me, and some of that money has gone to funding her time with you. That makes you complicit. Unless you want legal trouble, you'll cooperate. He cooperated. With all 4 men on board, reluctantly in some cases, I moved to the next phase. I contacted Chloe's ex-husband, Richard Harrison. It took some work to find him, but social media eventually connected us. We met for coffee in Winston-Salem, neutral territory. I should have warned you, Richard said, looking genuinely regretful. When she started dating again, I thought about reaching out to whoever was next, but I figured no one would believe me. I'd just look like a bitter ex. Tell me what happened. Same pattern. We got married. She seemed perfect for about 6 months, then the lies started. Different job, secret accounts, affairs. She had 5 guys going at once by the time I caught on. When I confronted her, she tried to turn it around, said I was neglectful, that I drove her to it. I filed for divorce and got out. She took half of everything, even though she was the one who cheated. She won't get half this time, I said. Good luck. She's very convincing. She'll cry, she'll play victim, she'll make everyone think you're the monster. I'm not giving her the chance. Richard studied me. What are you planning? Something she won't see coming. I went back to Greensboro and continued my normal routine. Coming home to Chloe, eating dinner with her, watching TV together, even making love to her, though it made my skin crawl knowing where she'd been, who she'd been with. She had no idea I knew anything. Her performance was flawless. She'd talk about her day at the gym, complain about difficult clients, even showed me fake text messages from her manager. Meanwhile, Diana was building our case. Fraud, forgery, adultery with evidence. The financial crimes alone were enough to ensure I'd get everything in the divorce. But I wanted more than that. I wanted her to understand what it felt like to have your world destroyed. 2 weeks later, I put everything in motion. On a Thursday evening, Chloe told me she had a late class. I told her I had to work on a landscaping emergency, a burst sprinkler system at a commercial property. Instead, William and I went to Velvet Nights. We sat in the back, watching Chloe perform under her stage name. She was good at it, I had to admit. The crowd loved her. When her set ended, she made her rounds, collecting tips, flirting with customers. That's when Thomas walked in. But he wasn't alone. His wife Angela was with him. I'd contacted Angela 3 days earlier, telling her everything. She hadn't believed me at first, but the photos convinced her. She was furious, at Thomas, at Chloe, at the situation. But she was also strategic. She wanted revenge, and she was willing to work with me to get it. Chloe's face, when she saw them, was priceless. Confusion, then recognition, then pure terror as she realized what was happening. Thomas pointed at her, said something to Angela. Angela's face hardened. The club manager rushed over, sensing trouble. Angela didn't make a scene. That wasn't her style. She simply took photos with her phone, turned, and walked out. Thomas followed her, but not before making eye contact with Chloe. Whatever he saw on her face, it clearly satisfied something in him. Chloe ran backstage. Phase 2 began immediately. While Chloe was dealing with the fallout at the club, Dale, Andrew, and Robert all received text messages, sent from a burner phone I'd purchased, with photos of Chloe with the other men. Each message included, "Thought you should know. She's been playing all of us." I knew their reactions would vary, but the goal was the same: chaos, confusion, the complete destruction of every relationship she'd built through lies. Chloe came home at 2 a.m., her eyes red from crying. I was waiting in the living room, lights on, divorce papers on the coffee table. "We need to talk," I said. She froze in the doorway. "Jim, I can explain." "No explanations. I know everything. The club, the affairs, all 4 of them, the money you stole, the fake identity, your first marriage. All of it." Her face cycled through emotions: shock, denial, anger, fear, and finally calculation. I could see her brain working, trying to find an angle, a way to spin this. "It's not what you think," she started. "Sign the papers, Chloe. Everything's documented. The fraud, the forgery, the adultery. My lawyer has copies of everything. I've secured my assets. You're not taking anything else from me. You can't do this. I'm your wife. You were never my wife. You were a con artist who found an easy target. But the con's over." She tried crying, then anger, then pleading. I sat through it all unmoved. Finally, she realized nothing was going to work. "I loved you," she said quietly. "No, you didn't. You loved Thomas. I saw it. The way you looked at him, the way you smiled. Whatever that was, it wasn't love. It was just another game. Thomas was different," she admitted. "He understood me." "Does he still?" "After his wife found out. After he learned about the other men." Her expression told me everything. Thomas was done with her. They all were. She signed the papers at 4 a.m., her hand shaking. Diana had made sure they were airtight. The apartment would be sold, proceeds split, but I'd get back the stolen $23,000 plus interest. She'd get nothing from my business. The credit cards she'd opened fraudulently would be canceled, the debt assigned to her. The forged loan would be investigated, and Diana was considering pressing criminal charges. Chloe moved out 3 days later. She went to stay with Christy, her friend from the club, in a tiny apartment on the other side of town. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she'd tried contacting Thomas, begging him to give her another chance. He'd blocked her number. Same with Dale and Andrew. Robert apparently told her never to contact him again, or he'd file harassment charges. The divorce was finalized in 6 weeks, faster than usual because of the fraud involved. The judge looked at the evidence and barely glanced at Chloe's attempts to portray herself as a victim. But I wasn't done. During the discovery phase, I'd learned something interesting. Chloe had been planning to leave me anyway. Not for Thomas, not for any of the other men, but for her own fresh start. She'd been systematically draining our accounts, forging documents to take out loans against our apartment, even trying to get access to my business accounts. Her plan was to disappear with around $100,000, everything we'd built together, plus everything she could steal. The only reason she hadn't left yet was that she was waiting for one final piece: a loan she'd applied for using my identity and our apartment as collateral. It was set to come through in another month. Then she would have vanished, leaving me with debt, a foreclosed apartment, and no answers. I made sure everyone knew. I contacted the club where she worked and provided evidence of her fraud conviction. Yes, the judge had ruled it as such in our divorce settlement, though criminal charges were pending. The club fired her immediately. They couldn't afford the liability. I contacted every person in her life that I could find through social media and mutual connections. Not to harass, but to warn them. Chloe is a con artist with a pattern of fraud and manipulation. Protect yourselves. Some people thought I was crazy. Others thanked me. A few had their own stories of how Chloe had lied to them, borrowed money she never repaid, or caused problems in their relationships. The most satisfying moment came from an unexpected source. Krista, Chloe's other friend from the club, called me 2 months after the divorce was finalized. "I need to tell you something," she said. "Chloe's been staying with Christy, but she's been stealing from her too. Taking money from her purse, using her credit cards. Christy threw her out yesterday. Chloe's basically homeless now. Why are you telling me this?" "Because she tried to blame you. She's been telling everyone that you abused her, that you're the reason her life fell apart. But Christy and I compared notes, and we realized she's been lying to everyone about everything. She told me you were controlling and violent. She told Christy you cheated on her first. None of it matches up with what actually happened. Thank you for calling. There's more. Thomas? His wife filed for divorce too, but from what I heard, she's taking him for everything. His career's basically over. His company forced him to resign because of the scandal. He was in a position of trust, and the affair made them look bad. I felt a flicker of sympathy for Thomas, but only a flicker. He'd known Chloe was married. He'd made his choices. And Chloe? I asked. She's trying to get back with Thomas. She keeps showing up at his new apartment, leaving notes, calling him from different numbers. He's considering a restraining order. The irony was almost poetic. Chloe had thought she loved Thomas, the one man she'd been willing to actually pursue after the others were just transactions. But Thomas didn't love her, not anymore. Maybe he never really had. Maybe it had just been the thrill of the forbidden, the excitement of sneaking around, that had attracted him to her. Without that, without the illusion, there was nothing left. 6 months after our divorce, I ran into Angela at a grocery store. We recognized each other instantly. "How are you doing?" I asked. "Better than I expected," she said. "The divorce is almost final. I'm getting the house, primary custody of the kids, and a significant portion of his retirement. He has to see them on supervised visits only because the judge didn't appreciate his judgment. I'm sorry you got caught up in all this." She shook her head. "Don't be. I needed to know. I suspected for a while, but I kept telling myself I was paranoid. You did me a favor, honestly. Now I can move on with my life." "What about Thomas and Chloe?" Angela's smile was cold. "Last I heard, she's still trying to contact him. He filed for a restraining order 3 weeks ago. It was granted. If she goes near him again, she'll be arrested." "And Thomas?" "Living in a studio apartment, working as a junior accountant at a firm half the prestige of his old job. His reputation's destroyed. No major company will touch him after what happened." She paused. "I know I should feel bad for him, but I don't. He made his choices. We parted ways, and I drove home to my new apartment, smaller than the old one, but it was mine, paid for with money I'd earned honestly. My business was doing well. I'd even hired 2 more crews to handle the increased demand. Life moved forward. A year after the divorce, William called me with news. You'll never guess who I saw. "Who?" "Chloe. She was working at a gas station on the south side. Looked rough, man. Really rough." "Did she see you?" "Yeah. She tried to hide, but I walked right up to her. Asked how she was doing. She said fine, but her eyes said otherwise. She asked about you." "What did you tell her?" "That you're doing great. New apartment, business is booming, dating someone new." I might have exaggerated that last part, but I thought you'd appreciate it. I did appreciate it, though I wasn't actually dating anyone. I wasn't ready for that yet. Maybe I wouldn't be for a while. Chloe had taught me that trust isn't something to give freely. It has to be earned, proven over time with consistent actions, not just words. But the most interesting development came 14 months after the divorce. I received a letter from Thomas. Not a physical letter, an email, sent from a new address I didn't recognize. "Jim," it began. "I know you probably don't want to hear from me, and I wouldn't blame you if you deleted this immediately. But I need to tell you something, and I hope you'll read it through. After everything fell apart, after I lost my job and my marriage and my reputation, I spent a lot of time thinking about how I ended up in that situation. I blamed Chloe at first. Then I blamed you for exposing everything. Then I blamed Angela for not being understanding. But eventually, I had to face the truth. I did this to myself. I knew Chloe was married. She told me early on. I didn't care. I thought I was special, that what we had was different, that the rules didn't apply to us. I was arrogant and selfish, and I destroyed my own life chasing something that was never real. I'm writing to apologize. Not because I expect forgiveness, I don't deserve it, but because you deserve to hear it. You were the innocent party in all of this, and I helped destroy your marriage. I'm sorry. I also want you to know that Chloe tried to contact me for months after everything happened. She said she loved me, that we could start over somewhere new, that none of the other men mattered because I was the one she wanted. I almost believed her. Almost. But then I realized something. She never loved me. She loved the idea of me. The nice car, the good job, the financial security. Once all of that was gone, her interest disappeared too. The last time she contacted me, right before the restraining order was issued, she told me I'd ruined her life. Not that she'd ruined mine, or yours, or her own. I'd ruined hers by not standing by her. That's when I understood what you'd been trying to tell me that day at Starbucks. She's incapable of taking responsibility. Everything is always someone else's fault. She's a victim in her own narrative, no matter what the truth actually is. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. Maybe I need you to know that your revenge worked. Maybe I need you to know that I finally understand what you went through. Maybe I just need to confess to someone who'll understand. Whatever the reason, I hope you're doing well. I hope you've moved on and found happiness. You deserved better than what Chloe gave you. We all did. Thomas. I read the email 3 times. Part of me wanted to feel satisfied. My plan had worked perfectly after all. Everyone involved had lost something. Chloe had lost everything. Thomas had lost his career and his family. The other men had lost whatever illusions they'd been entertaining. But I didn't feel satisfied. I just felt tired. I deleted the email and closed my laptop. Spring turned to summer, summer to fall. My business continued to grow. I bought a small house outside Greensboro with a yard that needed constant maintenance. Ironic for a landscaper, but I found peace in working with my hands on my own property. I dated occasionally, nothing serious. Trust was still hard. Every time someone got close, I'd find myself looking for signs of deception, patterns of lies, red flags I'd missed with Chloe. My therapist, yes, I started seeing a therapist, said it would take time. She was right. 2 years after the divorce, I received one final piece of closure. Chloe showed up at my house. I almost didn't recognize her at first. She looked different, older, harder, with an edge of desperation I'd never seen before. She was wearing a waitress uniform from a restaurant chain I didn't recognize. "What do you want?" I asked through the screen door. I didn't invite her in. "I need to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about." "Please, Jim. Just 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I stepped outside, keeping the door closed behind me. "Talk." I wanted to apologize. For everything. The lying, the cheating, the stealing. All of it. I was wrong. "Okay. Is that it?" She looked frustrated. "Can't you at least acknowledge that I'm trying here? You want acknowledgement? Fine. I acknowledge that you're saying words. But words are easy, Chloe. You were always good with words. It's the actions that matter, and your actions destroyed our marriage, destroyed multiple people's lives, and nearly destroyed me financially. So yes, I hear your apology. No, I don't accept it. Is there anything else?" Her expression shifted from contrite to angry in a heartbeat. There was the real Chloe. "You know what? You're not innocent in this either. You were always working, always focused on your business. You never paid attention to me, never made me feel special. Is it any wonder I looked elsewhere? And there it is. The real reason you're here. Not to apologize, but to make yourself feel better by blaming me. We're done, Chloe. Don't come back." "Thomas won't take me back," she said suddenly. "None of them will. I've tried everything. Do you know how hard it's been? I lost everything because of you." "No, you lost everything because of you. I didn't force you to strip. I didn't force you to cheat. I didn't force you to steal. Those were your choices. Own them." "I love Thomas," she shouted. "We could have had something real, but you destroyed it. If it was real, it would have survived. If he loved you, he would have stood by you. But he didn't, because what you had with him wasn't love. It was an affair built on lies and convenience. Real love doesn't crumble the moment things get difficult." She stared at me, and for just a moment, I saw something in her eyes, maybe regret, maybe self-awareness, maybe just exhaustion. "I really did love you once," she said quietly. "In the beginning, before everything got complicated." "Maybe you did," I said. "But love isn't enough if there's no respect, no honesty, no loyalty. And you gave me none of those things." She left without another word. I watched her car disappear down the street and felt something release in my chest. The anger I'd been carrying for 2 years, the bitterness, the hurt, it didn't vanish completely, but it loosened its grip. I went back inside, poured myself a drink, and sat on my back porch watching the sun set over my garden. The grass needed mowing. The hedges needed trimming. The flower beds needed weeding. I'd get to it tomorrow. Life wasn't perfect. I still had moments of doubt, flashes of anger, nights when I couldn't sleep because my mind replayed everything that had happened. But I also had quiet mornings with coffee, successful workdays, friends who stood by me, and the knowledge that I'd survived something that could have destroyed me. Chloe had tried to take everything. She'd failed, and that was its own kind of victory. What I do know is this: revenge isn't really about making someone else suffer. It's about refusing to be a victim about taking back control when someone's tried to take it from you. It's about standing up and saying, "You don't get to destroy me." Chloe tried to destroy me. She tried to take my money, my dignity, my ability to trust. She failed. I'm still here, still building my life, still moving forward. And that's the best revenge of all. Thank you for watching the video to the end. YouTube may no longer suggest my channel to you, so subscribe to it to receive new interesting stories. You will also help the channel grow and improve the quality of its content. A playlist with other interesting stories that you can listen to is now displayed on the screen. You can also write in the comments what stories you would like to see on the channel.